Unintended Consequences with my friend
Tom and my friend.
Deb. And today we're starting a new month, actually, and a new theme.
We are.
But it does carry over from what we were talking about last month with the digital citizenship. And I hope you guys got a chance to listen to the radio episode where we interviewed Dr. Mike Ribble of digitalcitizenship.net, because that was a great interview if you've never heard of digital citizenship, right?
Exactly. And he's been an early advocator of it, an adapter, and actually came up with a definition for it and created quite a site. And that whole conversation kind of leads us into this month's talk about digital citizenship and government.
Yes, and so we thought it was a natural progression, really, because even though Dr. Ripple started with education in digital citizenship, part of what he wanted to do was expand the conversation into actually what's going on between governments and citizens. And so our theme is digital government.
Exactly.
Right?
Yes.
And so hashtag is hashtag IoUC. DIG, D-I-G, Gov, G-O-V, digital government. But what is it? What are we talking about?
Well, Deb seems to come at it, has an overview of the federal government, which is extremely important. And my take on it is I get more into it on the local level. So it's all levels.
Yeah, I think it is. And, one of the misconceptions out there is when people think of digital government, they only think of, really technology and government, right? How government is going to use technology with the citizens. But there's a great book out there called Citizenville. It's on our book club, and there's also a book review coming out of it. It is by Gavin Newsom, who used to be, I believe, the deputy mayor of San Francisco.
Right.
And his idea, the book is called Citizenville because it's based on like Farmville, but for governments.
Cool idea.
So if you ever played Farmville on Facebook, it's a social game where you are basically trying to run a farm. And you've got to do it with help of friends, basically. But his definition of digital government, it really talks about the changing relationship between government and its citizens because of technology, and not necessarily in a negative way, but looking at how this technology can actually, encourage, enhance this relationship and how we work together.
Exactly, and the technology is not an end to the means; it's a means. It's
Right.
a method.
It is, and you hear lots of people talking about, well, government needs to be more open, more transparent, and how this technology that we have can actually help with that. And I think you had mentioned before the idea, well, what about voting, right? With all the technology that's out there, how does that get affected?
Hopefully it opens it up, and we just have such a bad record of voting in this country that hopefully that helps us vote more, which helps us become better citizens because it actually gives us a voice in our government through technology.
Yeah, and I guess that brings in this issue of participation, engagement, right? If we're in this relationship with our government, and our next video is actually going to talk about rights that we have
Right.
in this digital world. But, along with rights, you also have
Responsibilities.
responsibilities, right? Because it's a two-way street. And I think one of the things that Gavin talks about in his book is this idea that there's a real misconception that government is sort of separate from us, right? That in some way we can say, well, we want less government or we want no government at all.
Right.
When the reality is government is all around us. It's our roads, it's our electricity, it's our educational system. It's everywhere.
Exactly.
Right? In a certain aspect. And so, I think Gavin talks about this idea of technology just as a way that we can work together to solve the issues, right? To solve citizen needs, to help government be more efficient.
Wouldn't that be fascinating if the technologies actually brought us together?
Well, I would hope so. Maybe Congress and the Senate can be brought together.
Who knows?
Through this technology, right?
Maybe that would be an unintended consequence.
You are too funny in that. But and the reason why we talk a lot about collaboration and a lot of the stuff and research that we've been doing in terms of this online media and technology and government and citizens is the idea that if we want government to be less intrusive, then there's some things that we have to do.
Sure.
Right? There's some ways that we can help. And I think, one of the things that I was reading about were these community hackathons, which I thought was really interesting. And it's, a group of people, they don't have to be hackers, they don't have to know about computers, but basically the concept is that they come together, they say, look, here are some issues in our community. What can we do to help them? And what resources are available now that we can put together? And so I thought that was an interesting way of looking at, resolving or meeting some of the needs that citizens have.
Exactly, and it would do that quite well.
Yeah, so there's also a group called Code for America, and they do it on a national scale, right? Community hackathons are more the local, but Code for America does it on a national scale. And if you look them up on their website, they actually just had a summit.
Okay.
And they have some of the videos of some of those very interesting topics and sessions online. So please make sure you go and see that. That's Code for America. It's their summit, and they do have one session called The 21st Century Government. Ooh.
And right here at Halloween, we're past Halloween.
Tom, be careful about what you say. But I guess that is, the other thing that we talked about was, how do we get youth engaged again with government? Because you and I are getting older. They're going to be the ones voting. They're going to be the ones being elected into office. How do we get them interested in governing our country?
Well, I think they're going to do a lot of that on their own. That's where they are. That's the world the millennials live in. And the politicians who are running for office are reaching out more and more online. So I think there's going to be a natural coming together of those elements, which I think in the long run will be a good thing.
Yeah, and I think it also connects to something that you've been saying all along as we've been exploring this topic, is the idea that we're in transition. Right? A lot of this is new. The World Wide Web came in 94. We've had cell phones for, maybe a decade. We've had iPads or tablets for about 5 years.
Seems,
it just keeps getting faster and faster,
Exactly.
our rate of adaptation. But there's still, we talk about there's technology, there's the software, but then there's the people, right? The people have to be trained and have to be ready to accept this kind of technology and learn how to use it effectively. So we're still in that transition period. It'll be interesting to see where it goes.
I think it's going to go to a good place. I really do. I'm confident.
You're optimistic, aren't you?
I am.
Well, this is the Internet of Unintended Consequences. Make sure that you check us out on our website, www.TIOUC.com. We're also on Facebook at facebook.com/TIOUC. And don't forget our Twitter handle, hashtag for this month, and that is hashtag IoUC DIGGOV, dig gov. We know what it means. Yeah, dig your government, guys. Anyway, this was a lot of fun. This is my friend Tom.
And my friend Mel.